Hello, I'm Steve Shaw, National Coordinator of Football Officials and Secretary of Rules Editor for the NCAA. And today we're continuing our series of media videos for the 2023 season, and we're going to be focused on game action from Week 1. Now, it was a very exciting first week of college football, our first full week, compelling games, captivating storylines, and our officials delivered a solid performance as well. We had much discussion about the new clock rules. Remember, the Rules Committee intent here was, number one, keep the game moving, game flow. Number two, modestly reduce the number of plays. And number three, ensure that we're working the same mechanics and officiating on all of our clock rules. Now, through Week 1 is way too small of a sample size, but we're very encouraged with the results. We were down 6 plays per game on average, comparing Week 1 year over year. And the overall game time was down as well. But Week 1 is not representative. Once we get into conference play, into the bulk of the season, that's when we'll really be able to tell the impact of these rules. But we'll continue to monitor it, continue to report out here, but we're very encouraged. So with that, let's get on into some plays. Our first play this week, we're late in the half. The offense is trying to score. We've got first and goal with the clock running, and the ball carrier drives up the middle to near the goal line, and the crew's going to mark him down just short of the end zone. Now, the clock continues to run. The offense quickly lines up on the ball, and just before the snap, the left side of the line flinches, and we stop the clock for a false start. Now, since we're inside a minute and the foul caused the clock to stop immediately, the offense is subject to a 10-second runoff, and we get a good announcement from our referee.
False start, offense, number 57. Nebraska has chosen to use their last timeout to avoid a 10-second subtraction.
So there is no runoff, and after the timeout, the offense is back out and ready to run the next play, but then we're going to get another announcement by our referee.
The play prior to the false start is under review to see if it was a score.
So by rule, any play can be stopped by either the replay official or a coach challenge at any time before the ball is next legally put in play. Since the false start did not allow the ball to be put in play, the previous goal line play can still be reviewed. Ultimately, replay is going to let the play stand, but they reset the clock to 11 seconds, and that's when the false start occurred, and the clock will be started on the referee's ready for play signal. Play 2 is actually going to be a 2-play vignette involving player numbering. Now, the first play, the offense has 4th down, 3 yards to go, and they decide to punt. It's a very high punt, and number 3 of the receiving team is going to make a fair catch. But we can see a flag down on the play near our field judge who's lined up at the goal line. Now, by rule, no 2 players on the same team shall participate on the same down wearing identical numbers. And what we can see here, in addition to the return man, we see the receiving team has another number 3. So this is a foul that is enforced on this play from the previous spot, a 5-yard penalty, and it's going to give the offense a first down in this case. Now, the intent of the rule is to prevent teams from using numbers as a deceptive tactic. And also, the rules do not allow 2 squad members playing the same position to wear duplicate numbers. So if you think this is just an isolated incident, here is a situation in another game from Week 1, another special teams play, and we can see that there are 2 number 38s lined up in position on the punt team. And so if the foul is on the kicking team in this situation, this 5-yard penalty can be enforced either at the previous spot and repeat the down, or it can be tacked on to the return when the dead ball belongs to the receiving team. Play 3, we're going to highlight an officiating mechanic when it comes to substitutions. Now, we're going to see the quarterback. He's in the pocket, he's flushed out, and he's going to run out of bounds on the far side boundary into his own team area. Now, we get good convergence by the crew, and this is really good preventive officiating to ensure we have no issues. But the quarterback is going to come back out of the team area, and number 3 as well for the offense. And even though it appears there may not have been a substitution here, we see the referee gives the T signal indicating the beginning of the substitution process and is going to allow the defense to substitute. Now, officiating standards dictate that if offensive players go out of bounds into their own team area between the 20-yard lines, we're going to allow the defense to substitute. And the reasoning behind this is when the offensive players go into their own team area, it can be nearly impossible to detect substitutions. So you will see our officials working the substitution process anytime the play ends and offensive players are out of bounds within their team areas between the 20s. Play 4 is a great illustration of how our player safety rules are working. We see a punt, the return man breaks upfield, then he's going to cut across field, and then he turns it back up. And we're going to see defender number 44 in pursuit of the return man, and number 9 of the receiving team is sizing him up, and in years gone by would have blown him up with a blindside block. But here, number 9 delivers a legal blindside block and just really screens the defender. The block is successful, and both players are available to play the next play. The rule does not allow a player to deliver a blindside block by attacking an opponent with forcible contact. And the player receiving a blindside block is considered defenseless. So if there's forcible contact to the head or neck area, it would be an illegal blindside block with targeting. A blindside block is considered legal if it's delivered with extended hands, it's a screen block, or absorbs. This type block is exactly what the rules makers had in mind. It's an effective block that springs the runner, but is very safe. Play 5, we're going to discuss the fair catch rule on kickoffs. Now, we know the receiver can signal for a fair catch and complete the catch, and if they're successful, it works like a touchback and the ball belongs to the receiving team at the 25-yard line. Now, on this play, we see that the receiver does signal, but he's going to muff the ball. It bounces forward. The ball's still live, and we see the receiver, he recovers the ball around the 8-yard line. Now, since the receiver did give a fair catch signal, that means the receivers give up their right to return the kick. So when the receiving team gains possession of this muff kick in the field of play, the ball is declared dead, and it belongs to the receiving team at that point. No return allowed and no touchback. Now, if the muff kick would have gone back into the end zone, the receivers could have recovered it there and received a touchback. But on this play, the receivers will next put the ball in play at the 8-yard line. Our last play this week has created a flurry of questions, and there are a couple things we need to talk about on this play. So it's a 4th and 7 situation. The line to gain is the 44-yard line going in. Now, the quarterback breaks free, and he's going to slide feet first to protect himself near the line to gain. Now, two things. The play is dead when the ball carrier begins to slide feet first. And when he lowers his backside, that's when we consider the play dead, and the ball is spotted at its forward point when the backside is begin to be lowered. And so in this case, it's short of the line to gain. The backside begins to lower at the 45, and the ball is at least 1 yard short of the line to gain. So it's a good spot by the crew, short of the first down. But since this is 4th down, the offense didn't make the line to gain. Their series has ended at that moment the ball's declared dead. And now subsequently, there's a dead ball foul, late hit with targeting call. And since the foul occurs after the offensive series has ended, remember it was 4th down, by rule the penalty is enforced at the succeeding spot. So the ball's going to go over to the defense and will be penalized 15 yards, but they'll keep the ball and have a 1st and 10. So it's an interesting and unusual enforcement, but it was handled properly by the crew. Well, that's it for our plays this week, and we hope this video has been informative and helpful. We appreciate your time watching, and we welcome feedback. That is helpful to us in determining future plays. Now, we're excited for a great week 2 to our college football season. Best of luck to all.